Let's start off with a few guessable words which we're going to use as our starting point for this lesson. Adaptable, considerable, reciclable, deseable. Okay, what do you think those mean? All of them apart from one is very guessable, are very guessable. See if you can spot the one which means desirable, desirable. And desirable is the last one, deseable, deseable, deseable. It's desirable. And the other ones, adaptable, adaptable, considerable, considerable, reciclable, recyclable, and deseable, desirable. And don't worry if you think these particular words aren't going to be especially useful to you in your situation at the moment. We're just using them as an easy way to learn some conversational structures. And let's just practice what we've learned in some sentences before we go on to the meat of the lesson. You may or may not know that es, spelt es, es in Spanish, means he is, she is, and it is. So she's, he's, and it's. So how would you say he's adaptable? Es adaptable. Es adaptable. And of course that also means it's adaptable and she's adaptable. How would you say it's desirable? It's desirable. Es deseable. Es deseable. And what about it's recyclable? It's recyclable. Es reciclable. Es reciclable. And just remember, if you don't have time to think of the answer before it comes up on the recording, then just make sure you pause to give yourself time to think. Okay, let's just add into this bastante, which means quite. Bastante, bastante, quite. So how would you say it's quite considerable? Es bastante considerable. Es bastante considerable. How about she's quite adaptable? Es bastante adaptable. Es bastante adaptable. And of course we could also have something like he's quite desirable. He's quite desirable. What would that be? Es bastante deseable. Es bastante deseable. And let's add two more of these able type words to our list. Recargable, recargable. And respetable, respetable, respetable. Which one do you think means rechargeable? Rechargeable. And rechargeable is recargable, recargable. And which one is respectable? Respectable is respetable, respetable. Okay, let's add those in. So how would we say he's quite respectable? He's quite respectable. Es bastante respetable. Es bastante respetable. And of course, if you want to say something isn't, it's not, you just say no, no es, no es, no es. How would you say it's not rechargeable? It's not rechargeable. No es recargable. No es recargable. How about she's not respectable? She's not respectable. No es respetable. No es respetable. Okay, on to the substance of this lesson. To go from adaptable or adaptable to the verb to adapt, to adapt. We just take off the BLE at the end, the BLE, and we add an R. So adaptable becomes adaptar. So to adapt is adaptar. 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 How would you say to consider? Use the same rule. How would you say to consider? Considerar. Considerar. So we just take considerable, take off the last three letters and add an R. If it's easier for you, you might prefer to think of it as taking off the able and add in R, A-R. So take off the able and then just add on AR, whichever's easier, so it's the same. So considerable, take off the able, and you'll end up with considerar, once you put the AR on, considerar. How would you say to recycle? Reciclar, reciclar, reciclar. How about to desire? What would that be? To desire. Desear, desear, desear. And how about to respect? What would that be? To respect. Respetar, respetar. Just notice there isn't the letter C as there is in English. In English we say respect, and in Spanish there isn't the letter C. It's respetar, respetar. Okay, let's put this into a usable structure. So we'll start off, if you look at the grid on the screen, necesito, necesito is I need. Necesito, necesito. And then we'll have our new verbs, our to-do verbs, our infinitives. So we've got to consider, to recycle, to desire, to recharge, and to respect. And so that we can add a bit on, I've put algo, algo, something. So algo is something. So how would you say, I need to recycle something? I need to recycle something. Necesito reciclar algo. Necesito reciclar algo. How about, we could also say, we could have lots of variations here. We could say, instead of necesito, we could have maybe es importante. Es importante reciclar. Es importante reciclar. It's important to recycle. How would you say, I need to recharge something? I need to recharge something. Necesito recargar algo. Necesito recargar algo. And instead of algo, we could say mi teléfono. Mi teléfono. Mi teléfono. How would you say, I need to recharge my phone? Necesito recargar mi teléfono. Necesito recargar mi teléfono. How would you say, I need to consider something? I need to consider something. Necesito recargar algo. And that's I need to recharge something again. So let's go back to what I actually said, which was I need to consider something. What would that be? Necesito considerar algo. Necesito considerar algo. Okay, so we've gone from hable words, adaptable, reciclable, etc. And we've learnt how to change those into verbs, to change it to do something. Reciclar. Let's learn now how to change those to do words, so to do something, to I do something. I do something. And in Spanish, we generally don't actually use the word I, we just change the ending of the verb. So at the moment, all our verbs are infinitives. That means they're to do. They're not changed to I, you, etc. And to change it to I, if you look at I need, that will help us. I need is necesito. Necesito. It ends in an O. Necesito. So that tells us that if we want to change any of these other verbs to I do something, I consider, I recycle, it needs to end in an O. So we take off the AR. We take off the AR. If we go back to the hable, we could just say we take off the hable and add an O, the letter O. So to recycle is reciclar, reciclar. I recycle is reciclo, reciclo, reciclo. To desire is desear, desear. I desire, deseo, deseo. Take off the AR and add an O. Or do it the other way around that I suggested. If you have deseable, take off the hable and add an O. Deseo, deseo. How would you say I respect? I respect. Respeto, respeto, respeto. How would you say I recharge? I recharge. Recargo, recargo, recargo. How would you say, going back to when I said earlier, how would you say I consider? Can you remember that? I consider. Considero, considero, considero. How about I don't recycle? I don't recycle. What would that be? I don't recycle. No reciclo. No reciclo. We've come quite far in this lesson, but let's take it one step further. If you want to say, I consider it, I recycle it, I recharge it, that it is lo. L-O, lo. And in Spanish, we don't say I consider it, we say it I consider. It I desire. It I respect. So we say lo considero, lo considero. Lo reciclo, I recycle it. Lo reciclo, I recycle it. How would you say I respect it? I respect it, like the decision, I respect it. Lo respeto, lo respeto. How would you say I recharge it? I recharge it. Lo recargo. Lo recargo. Lo recargo. I recharge it. How would you say I don't recycle it? I don't recycle it. No lo reciclo. No lo reciclo. No lo reciclo. How about I don't respect it? I don't respect it. No lo respeto. No lo respeto. If you followed the lesson all the way through, you'll have seen that there hasn't been anything difficult about this, but you should still feel quite pleased with yourself, as it normally takes most classes or courses a couple of years to get to this point where you're manipulating verbs and you're using lo and you're creating your own sentences. So, well done. If you haven't visited our site yet, it's ProSpanish.co.uk. There are a number of courses available there, the main one being our bestseller, levels 1 to 6, which takes you from beginner to conversational fluency in the shortest time possible.